And I'm going to show you how to do some basic color correction. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Manny Edwards, who are you? And my answer to that is, who are you? Seriously, I'm just a guy. But I made a movie with my friend George Escobar, and it was a difficult process, but very interesting, lots of fun, and we learned a lot of things along the way, and I just want to share what I know. I don't know everything. I guess my favorite tutorial guy, is that a title of some kind? I don't know, but of the people who do tutorials out there, man, Andrew Kramer is the man. Check out his website, videocopilot.net. Now, he's an After Effects expert, and I'm not an expert even at what I'm showing you, but I do know a lot of things about this color correction process that I've learned along the way, and I'm just happy to share what I know and happy to learn what you know. So send me an email and let me know some of your tips. And so look, let's just jump right in here. I'm going to assume that you already know how to send some footage over from Final Cut, or that you otherwise know how to load a clip into color. Let me just go through very briefly the interface here. I have the preview of my footage up here in the upper left. Right here I have the waveform, and I have it set in overlay. You can change that and have the colors separated out, RGB in a parade. I like the overlay. And I use the vector scope. I'll show you the 3D color space. We'll take a look at that a little later, and maybe in another tutorial show you how to use that. Right now we're going to use the vector scope. These are your trackballs. This is the shadows area, midtones and highlights. They're not real trackballs. They're representations of a trackball. If you have a trackball, if you have a control surface, such as the one that Tangent Devices makes, then you're really cool, and it's very useful. Speed up your work a lot. We're going to use the keyboard and the mouse to do this work. You got your highlights, midtones, shadows. You can do a lot of color correction here. You can use the curves and get a lot of the same results with a little different methodology. You can also use saturation, master lift, master gain, and master gamma. Or you can go into the advanced tab, and it separates out the red lift, the red gain, and the red gamma, and does it for each of the colors. We're just going to stick with the basic. We're in the primary in room. There are several rooms in this color correction software. The setup room, where you set up user preferences and project settings and that kind of thing. Primary in, secondaries, we'll take a quick look at those later. Color effects are some really cool things we can do in color effects. Primary out is like a final touch, a final grade on things. You might have to make an adjustment depending on whether you're going to DVD or whether you're going to film out. You'll change the contrast a little bit. Geometry, we have a clip here that is upside down because the reference video, it's referencing the original footage, and this footage was captured with a 35mm adapter that flipped the image. It inverted it. And in this room you can go to the rotation and you can invert the image, make it 180 before you work with it, so it doesn't distract you that it's upside down. But we're not working with that clip. We're working with this clip in the primary in room. Go back to the primary in. Let me tell you about this footage. It was captured with it's HDV footage, which is a type of video compression that gets you this kind of hazy image. You can do some camera adjustments to get a different color. There's all kinds of camera settings and presets that you can use that give you more saturated colors and a lower gamma and that kind of thing. Makes it prettier. But this is what we have, and we were trying to get this during golden hour. We have Rachel sitting in the gazebo, and we wanted that nice golden look. It was a good day, but we didn't get it. We had other work to do, other footage to get. Those shots ran long, and by the time we got set up over here, the sun had gone down behind the trees. And the only light that was being cast on our scene now was just the diffuse light of the hazy western sky, which is a nice soft light, no harsh shadows, but we lost that golden look. And you know how it goes. If you can't get it on set, and you can't get it on a location, then you fix it in post, right? You can fix anything in post. Well, I don't know about that, but we can fix this in post. We're going to get back that nice golden look that we intended to get. Now, I'm going to work with the curves and these color wheels, and then we're going to go into the secondaries and make a minor adjustment. But the first thing I want you to understand is what you're looking at in this waveform and the vector scope. I'll go into more detail about that in another tutorial, exactly what they do. But essentially, the waveform shows you the distribution of pixels across your image. The higher up on this scale the pixel is, the brighter it is. The lower down it is, the blacker it is. And the vector scope shows you kind of a different way of looking at the distribution of colors. The closer it is to this point, the more red it is, and the more saturated it is. Saturation is indicated by distance away from the center. All right, the further away from the center, the more saturated that color. You've got red, magenta, blue, cyan, green, and yellow. So you can see here that we've got this group of reddish, sort of pink or magenta pixels. That's our shirt. And we have over here, we can see the same thing. I'm going to take you to another clip in the waveform. You'll be able to see what happens when someone moves out of frame in the picture. I'm going to loop this clip and you'll see her moving. Now watch this image, this part of the waveform, and you'll see how it represents the image you're looking at. You can sort of see the form of her body moving off screen in the waveform. Okay? Now, I'm going to stop that. We're going to go back to our first clip. What I want you to understand when you're making your color adjustments, don't look at the picture. Look at your scopes. You'll get a lot more information in the scopes than you will from the image. And then use the image to check your work, to make sure you're happy with what you've got. Now, the first thing we're going to do is increase the contrast. You can see that the pixels in this image are distributed along about the 10% mark to the 90% mark, but they're grouped below 80% and above 10 or 15%. That's not a lot of contrast. We want to increase the contrast, and my favorite way of doing that is to go to the Luma curve and put a point that's about a third of the way up and pull that down. Now look at your waveform. Notice as I move this curve, it drops the pixels to the bottom. I like to set them right at the black so that my darkest pixel in the image really is truly black. And then I take another point that's about a third of the way, 2/3 of the way up, and I want to grab those pixels and scoot them up a little brighter. I don't want to set them exactly on the 100, but up near there just to get a nice contrast. Now, in color, you can hit Control-G to turn the grade off and on. Now look how much better that looks already. That's the original, and that's what we've done so far. Now what's really good about this, you can see right here that you can solve 90%, well, say 70% of your color correction problems just by adjusting the contrast. But we're not satisfied with that. We want to give it kind of a warm glow, make it look like the sun is shining on it. So I'm going to start with the midtones. Right here in this midtone tracker ball, I'm going to grab the center and push it towards the reds. I'm going to push the mouse away from me and push it towards the reds. Look at your vector scope and you can see what pixels you're affecting and what you're gaining. Okay, I'll do something more drastic and you can see it move. It takes the whole color, the whole bunch of colors in the vector scope and moves them towards that red dot at about 11 o'clock. Okay, that's giving it sort of a reddish color cast, and that's exactly what I want to get. That may be a little too much towards the green, so now I'm gonna push it towards the magenta a little bit so that my point in the tracker ball is more directly towards the red. Now I've done that just to show you it's too much, so I'm going to pull it back, but along that same line, straight towards the center. And that's about what I want to get in the midtones. Let's do it in the highlights now. You don't want too much, but you don't want to miss the opportunity to get a nice look. Yeah. A little too pink. I'm going to pull that towards the yellow. There you go. Alright, now I'm going to check my image. It looks pretty good. Control G, turn that off. Now it's starting to look like the sun is actually shining on this image. And I like that. There's a problem though, it's this shirt. It's oversaturated. The first thing I'm going to do is increase the saturation of the green. I'm going to go into the secondaries and I want to affect only the green pixels. I want to make them more green, but without making the entire image more green. So I have to do that in the secondaries. I go into the secondary room by clicking this tab, and then I click Enabled. Otherwise you won't see the results of your work. And then I've got 4 choices here, and I'm going to select the Saturation Curve tab. And what I want to do is increase the greens. So I'm going to grab along this line representing the colors I'll be affecting. I'm going to put a point right on the green, and I'm going to pull them up. Now look down in the vector scope and you can see that I am increasing the range of pixels in the greens, but as I grab this point it's also affecting the other colors. So I don't want to do that. I'm going to reset and I'm going to pin the other colors. I'm going to bracket the green range. So I'm going to put a pin on the yellows and a pin on the cyans, and that should help me limit the greens. Now if you look at your vector scope you can see that as I move this up and down I really am affecting a more narrow range of pixels, mostly in the greens. So I like how that has affected the green pixels, but I still have a problem with this shirt and I'm going to solve it now. This color range looks like something that's kind of, well, you know, hot pink. And it's going to be somewhere in this range of colors from red into the purples, or maybe from the oranges into the purples. The point being, I just need to bring those down some and play with it a little bit and see what. I'm going to be looking at my vector scope to see which pixels I'm affecting. First thing I do is I identify the range of pixels in the vector scope that kind of looks like the color of her shirt. It looks like it's right in here. So I'm going to check that. Yeah, that seems to be doing pretty well, except it's also changing the blues a little too much. So I'm going to undo that, Control Z or Command Z, and then I'm going to pin the blues so they don't get affected by this move. And try that again. Yeah, see that isolates those reds a little better, and I just want to bring it down to where it looks not so blown out. You know, it's just doesn't have to be much, just enough to do that, and it affects just this range of colors without affecting the nice warm glow I put on the rest because I had pinned the yellows. I might bring those back up just a hair. I'm going to add one here. Bring that up just like that. Yeah, you can see in the vector scope that it's moving the yellows and kind of the orange without affecting those purple pixels in her shirt. And that's exactly what I want to get there. And then hit Control G to turn the grade off and on. Yeah, that looks a lot better. It's more real, more vivid. Looks like golden hour.